In this video, we'll break down the AFC North, going over each team's chances as we predict the order of finish and if any team will get in as a wild card. We'll also discuss a couple of fantasy players' value in the division, all of that, plus how to win an invaluable prize, coming up next. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Lee.
And I'm Michael Wiley, and we're the Fantasy Football Consultants.
Michael, we continue our tour of the different divisions, and today it's the NFC North.
Yep, so we're going to be talking about all the divisions, as Eric alluded to, and for those that want to see some of the others, the other links will be in the description of the video.
All right, Michael, this is a low-key tough division. Tell us how it broke down last year.
Okay, so last year, the Steelers somehow pulled out a division win, going 12-4, partly because they were 7-1 at home. The Ravens and the Browns were both 11-5, so made it into the playoffs. And the Bengals, after losing their quarterback, ended up 4-11-1.
Yeah, and as far as the odds for 2021, Las Vegas likes the Baltimore Ravens. To risk 100, you can win 125 if you say they win the division. Right behind them is the Cleveland Browns, plus 145. Pittsburgh, they may be the defending champ, but Las Vegas disses them. They are plus 400. And Cincinnati, so far back you can barely see them, plus 2,000. To risk, if you risk 100, you can bet them to win the division, and you can get a payout of $2,000. We're going to break down the divisions, but I want to tell everybody how they can win a pretty cool prize. Go into the comment section and put your order of finish from 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the AFC North and state if there's any team that you think will get a wild card. If you get it exactly right, you'll get into a random poll and you can get picked. The winners will do it for every division. We'll get to meet us, Michael, in a Zoom call and be a part of an FFC show. What would that go for on the open market?
I think people must be just drooling for that opportunity to be on a show with that. Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. Let's show them how it's done. All right, the AFC North. Let's start with the defending champ, Pittsburgh Steelers, Michael.
Yeah, like you said, not a lot of love from Vegas here to put such higher odds on them. You know, Big Ben supposedly lost a few pounds. We'll see what kind of impact that can make. They did lose their running backs, but they made a nice addition with my guy Najee Harris from my home conference where my kids played football. And otherwise, they do have that strong defense back. I think, you know, really they're getting dinged for a horrible offensive line. I mean, some say they have the worst or second worst offensive line in football. And Big Ben, despite losing a few pounds, is probably just not as capable of eluding the rush as he has been historically. So,
yeah,
Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, that offensive line, which already was bad, I think it's gotten worse because they lost 3/5 of the starters and they haven't replaced them with anyone notable. Marquise Pouncey retired, Matt Fielder and Alejandro Villanueva. All are guys that are not coming back. So that's a big concern. How do you think that's going to affect? You talked about the rookie, Najee Harris. Without getting much blocking in front, how is that going to work out for the guy?
I do think Najee Harris is a huge upgrade at the running back position. He is a beast. He's physical. He's got good hands, but he's a rookie, right? And so this is the NFL. There is a change, even though some say the SEC is the great preparation for the NFL. So they're going to have to do a lot with defense in order for them to make up things on the offensive side, because usually what you do when you have a strong defense is you run the ball. And that'll be tough to do with that offensive line.
Yeah, and I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say maybe the best trio wide receivers in the league with Juju, Deontay Johnson, and Chase Claypool. But my biggest concern, Michael, and I want to hear your opinion on it, is are they really going to have anybody that's going to effectively get them the ball? 39-year-old Ben Roethlisberger, and if he ever starts to struggle or gets hurt, their backups are Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins. In other words, they don't have backups. That's the biggest concern I have about this team.
Yeah, no, I think the defensive side of the ball is strong. They still have let's see TJ Watt, Joe Hayden, Minka Fitzpatrick, and Cam Hayward to kind of lead that strong defense. I like Mike Tomlin, but I think Big Ben he's not quite Tom Brady.
It's weird to imagine. They were 11-0 at the beginning of the year. Then they lost 5 of 6, including that playoff game against the Browns. I'm not quite sold on them this year. We'll talk more about it later. Let's move over to Baltimore. So the Baltimore Ravens, they're the prohibitive favorite according to Las Vegas this year. Look, they're weird. There's no team like them, Michael. For each of the last 2 years, they've ranked number 1 in rushing and dead last in passing. And I don't think there's going to be any changing of that because it's worked. They've led the league with 31 points a game last year. Ingram's gone, but who's going to miss him? I don't think they will because they got J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. What impact, if any, do you think bringing Sammy Watkins over from the Chiefs to bolster their wide receiving core?
I mean, Sammy Watkins isn't quite what he used to be, although we saw him have a pretty good year with the Chiefs. He brings some speed to be opposite of Hollywood Brown, which helps. But let's face it, Lamar Jackson is a running quarterback. That has really been what they've built things on. I think John Harbaugh is a good coach and knows how to take advantage of weapons. But the balance between their defense and their offense is what's going to help them compete in this division. And it's kind of up to Lamar Jackson whether or not they're going to go deep in the playoffs.
Yeah, so we'll see. It's going to be a very interesting year for the Ravens. The division just continues to it's so strong, those top 3 teams. The Cleveland Browns, Michael, what do you see from the Browns this year?
I tell you what, I really like the Browns. I mean, it's hard to be a big Baker Mayfield fan with some of his cheesy commercials. But I mean, Odell's going to be healthy, and Odell opposite Jarvis, I think is huge. We talk about maybe this is the best running back duo in the league with Chubb and Hunt, and Hooper's a fine tight end. And they do have the best offensive line in football. At least that's what I continue to read, which I think is a big part of the success that Mayfield has seen. And they've improved things on the defensive side. So some polls have them ranked as high as the 7th best defense in the league. I think Cleveland is going to continue on the way up. I think the jury's still out on Coach Stefanski, but
you can't complain with what he's did in his very first season. I mean, they were such a disappointment going 6-10. They improved to 11-5 in his first season, and I agree with you. They really improved on that defense. They signed defensive end Jadeveon Clowney, safety John Johnson, and cornerback Troy Hill. So I think it will be improved. But I think the biggest thing Cleveland has going for them over Baltimore and Pittsburgh is that bonus 3 games. Of course, they all play in the division, and they play the NFC North and the AFC West. But the 3 bonus games, Pittsburgh gets the division winners. They get Tennessee, Seattle, and Buffalo, while Baltimore gets Indianapolis, the LA Rams, and Miami. But look who Cleveland gets, the 3rd place schedule. They get Houston, oh my gosh, Arizona, and New England. That might make the difference. We'll see. All right, let's move over to Cincinnati. Boy, they have really struggled in the last 3 years, just with 6, 2, and 4 wins, and they're stuck in such a tough division. Last year actually looked okay until they lost to 2 Joes, and everything went south when Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon went down. I was a little surprised because, Michael, I would have thought their number 1 responsibility would be protect Joe Burrow. When it came to their first-round pick, they passed on Penny Sewell to pick up the wide receiver Jamar Chase. Did you think that was a good move?
I mean, I like this kid, Jamar Chase, and I think, I understand trying to put the 2 LSU guys back together could be helpful, but no, you have to protect your quarterback. This is your, he's going to be a great NFL quarterback. He showed that in year 1. You've got to do what it takes to give him time to make sure he doesn't get injured. And it was a big mistake, I think. And so, they're in the rebuild years, right? You got to focus on rebuilding. And I think it starts with the offensive line. They're the 25th offensive line in the league. Couple that with bottom 5 or 10 defense in the league. It's going to be a rough year for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, I feel like they're not a terrible team, but they're in a division which, you know what, they're going to finish last. I just gave away my my pick. So let's go to my pick. So I already told you who I thought would finish last. I am going to go contra to the lines makers. And because of what I said on the schedule, I'm going to pick the Cleveland Browns to win the division. I have Baltimore coming in second and the Pittsburgh Steelers third. And as I said, Cincinnati bringing up the rear. I do think the Baltimore Ravens will get in as a wild card. I looked at these divisions, Michael, and I think it's going to be tough. Look, if Ben Roethlisberger has a great year, then I'm going to be wrong, but I wouldn't bet on it. So I don't think Pittsburgh gets in as a wild card.
So I'm going to agree with you in the Browns winning this division, although I think the Ravens and the Browns will be neck and neck, and it will come down perhaps to the last game or two. And I think no question the Ravens should end up being probably the top wild card team in the AFC. But I think the Steelers could sneak into the playoffs. This defense is so good, and defense wins championships. The defense is good enough to give the Steelers a chance to even win a game or two in the playoffs. But like you say, Big Ben has to be able to be a game manager, and that offensive line is pretty poor. So I'm not 100% confident on it, but part of that is me looking at some of these other divisions. We'll talk about one of the other divisions later today, and kind of trying to decide who else is actually going to make the playoffs in the AFC.
Wow, that's really interesting. All right, well, we will see how it breaks down. Let's talk a little bit about a couple of fantasy players. I wanted to bring up Najee Harris. Normally what I do is I will tell you this guy's going to be a flop or this guy is going to be really good. I actually don't know about this. I just want to comment about the fact that on the negative, he's got that bad offensive line, and I don't know if Pittsburgh will be up as much as they used to be. And the Pittsburgh was dead last in rushing last year, part of it because of offensive philosophy. They were just throwing the ball a ton. Here's the one thing that I love about Najee Harris. Mike Tomlin usually rides with one back. And in college, Harris was a pass catcher as well as a runner. So I think he'll be a bell cow. My guess is probably a lot of leagues will undervalue Harris. So if you make me have my thumb up or thumb down, it's slightly up.
No, I agree with that. And that's who actually I would have wanted to talk about because of how the Steelers have historically used their running backs. I think despite the fact that they've passed way too much in the last few seasons, Ben Roethlisberger does like to dump it off to capable pass catching running backs. And Najee Harris is a major upgrade on what they've had the last few years. Connor had some capabilities in there for sure, but he's not Najee Harris, and he's definitely not as durable as what Najee Harris I think will be in the NFL. For me, the other conversation is Nick Chubb. I think Baker Mayfield with his defense, with his offensive line, will be told to be a game manager again. So I can't imagine he's going to put up great fantasy points himself, although he'll have a week or two here and there. But I think that bodes really well for Nick Chubb. I know he's going to go off the draft boards early, but as long as he stays healthy, despite the fact that he will share some time with Kareem Hunt, I think Nick Chubb is going to have a fantastic season.
Yeah, that's an interesting comparison because Nick Chubb runs behind a much better offensive line, although he will split a little bit with Hunt. I know they both are in the game a lot, but Hunt could potentially get some goal line carries, and Hunt is going to get far more pass receptions than Nick Chubb. My guess is Chubb's going to go first in leagues, and I think that is right. But if Pittsburgh does as well as I think you think they may do, it may be close between the two. Well, do you agree with me, Mike, that this AFC North, I mean, everybody talks about the NFC West. It's a great division, but this may be the second best division in the NFL. What do you think? Am I going?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you're right. I mean, and part of it's the defenses and how they've built these defenses. You know, got 3 really strong defenses here. You know, for the most part, you know, the offenses are capable, other than this offensive line issue for the Steelers. So these teams have been put together. And like you say, that some of it's also the draw against which divisions they play.
All right. Don't forget to put in the comment section your order of finish and if there any wild card teams come from this division. If you haven't yet, please hit that red subscriber button and the bell icon to be notified of all our future content. Speaking of future content, stay tuned and click on the link for another division review with Michael and me. Until we see you next time, take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.